Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of April 10th to the 16th, though. No video game review for this week, though. I'm in the process of moving into a new place, though, so I won't have one up and ready by then, though. I'm hoping maybe next week, though, but time will ultimately tell if that happens or not, though, so I'm hoping next week, though. But for this week, though, there's no video game review for this week, though. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including basically Digital Foundry making a comment about Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Breath of the Wild, and thinking that it could be on Nintendo's successor to the Nintendo Switch, though. The game Eiyuden, if I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize not. Chronicle Rising has been announced for several platforms, including the Nintendo Switch. Though, we also learned about the possibility that another entry in the Dot Hack, or at least another collection of Dot Hack games, could be in the works, though, with also Nintendo and Bandai Namco might be teaming up to remake a 3D action game, though. And of course, the big reveal for this week was basically Kingdom Hearts 4 was officially announced, though. If you're interested in where I got my source of information for a lot of these stories, though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to start off with what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details, though. The first one is that a new trailer was shown up for Fire Emblem Three Hopes, though, another entry in the Fire Emblem Warriors games, or as I like to refer to as the Nintendo-themed Warriors games, and it showed off a new character taking on also one of the main characters from Three Houses, though. Still looking forward to this one, though. I like the Nintendo-themed Warrior type games, though, so this is one I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. We also learned that the governor of California has so far interfered with the so-called Activision Blizzard lawsuit that's been going on recently, though. This story was broken by Bloomberg, though. The governor has denied some of the report from Bloomberg, though, but I will say that if this report from Bloomberg is absolutely true, though, then I would like to know what the reason for the California governor to interfere in the Activision Blizzard lawsuit, to be exact. We also learned that basically that expansions for Cyberpunk 2077 is still in the works, though, despite this game getting off to a rocky start, though. And I believe last time I heard, the game has sold so far 18 million copies, though. So it's clear CD Projekt Red is committed to Cyberpunk 2077. It's possible the game could end up like what we saw with No Man's Sky and fully maybe make a comeback and all that, though. But the launch definitely hurt CD Projekt Red's reputation, and they're going to have to work really hard to kind of earn that reputation back, though. We also learned that Bugsnatch, though, that was originally a time exclusive on the PS4 and PS5, is now going to be making its way over to the Nintendo Switch, Xbox via Game Pass, and Steam this month with new DLCs. I am curious to see how this game is going to run on the Nintendo Switch, though, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the Switch version turns out. And since it's going to be on Game Pass, though, hey, something to try out for Game Pass users to see if it's something that clicks with you in any way, though. We also learned that Vicaria Vision has now been merged with Blizzard Entertainment, and it no longer exists or anything like that. It is a little bit unfortunate because Vicaria Vision was known for doing especially a lot of handheld ports, like ranging from like the Tony Hawk games on the Game Boy Advance to even the Spider-Man games, though. So it is a little bit unfortunate, though. Hopefully none of the employees are being laid off or anything like that, and obviously it's going to be interesting to see once the whole Activision Microsoft deal goes through and all that stuff. I still think, despite what we're hearing, though, I still think it's possible it most likely will go through, even if Microsoft decides to negotiate with the FTC or anything like that, though. We also learned that Nintendo has acquired land, that's right, land, so they could develop for new development for a building in Japan, though. Not the acquiring studios that we're seeing with Sony or Microsoft, but hey, they're acquiring something, all right. If they're going to design the building, I personally think they should paint it purple and make it look like the Nintendo GameCube, although that might be a bit of a stretch for some folks, but it is what it is. We also learned that Nintendo, following I think a regulation and basically a ruling, though, has now changed their Switch Online automatic renewal service. Now it won't automatically turn on when you basically sign up for the service, though. You have the option to turn it on and off, and we're learning that Sony and Microsoft are doing that with their subscription services, though, which honestly I think that's a good thing. That's a very pro-consumer approach, and I'm definitely happy for that, though. I wish that they had done this sooner rather than just have it automatically turned on and all that stuff. I think consumers should have a right to know if an automatic renewal is something they want to pursue, though, if they like the service that much, though. We also learned that pre-orders will be going up soon for the Switch version of Star Wars The Force Unleashed. That will be opened up by Limited Run Games, though. This will be based off the Wii version being ported over to the Nintendo Switch. I am curious to see how the Switch version plays out, though. I mean, we've seen Skyward Sword make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, and that turned out to be good. I mean, not 100% perfect, but still good when playing with the traditional controller. So I'm curious to see how Force Unleashed, being this is based off the Wii version, how that turns out, though. We also learned that No More Heroes 3 will be coming to Xbox Series S and X and Xbox One, PC, and PS5, and I believe PS4, though. The game was originally a time exclusive on the Nintendo Switch last year, so, I mean, yeah, I would have liked it to be exclusive on the Nintendo Switch, but it is what it is. Hopefully it finds an audience on the other systems as well. I am sort of finding it interesting this one isn't on Game Pass or anything like that. It would have been sort of like an ideal pick for that, though. We also learned that Grim Galore, if I'm saying the name of that, a remaster of one of Vanillaware's game that was published by NIS America, that was originally released on the PS2, is getting a remake, and it's coming to the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, though. No word on this time on a Western release, though, although given NIS America's history, though, or NIS in general, I would say it would not surprise me if we see a Western release of this game coming over, a physical version or digital version coming over, though. But either way, nice to see some Vanillaware titles are making their way over to the Nintendo Switch. We'd love to see Dragon Crown, Odin Sphere, and Miramasa the Demon Blade make their way over to the Nintendo Switch. I definitely would be happy to that. Glad that we got 13 Sentinel Aegis Rin over, but I would like to see other ones appear up. And in the non-gaming related part, it turns out to be that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 definitely had a great week this week, and certainly the movie is doing very well at the box office, though. It overtook Michael Bay's Ambulance, though. It's nice to see that movie is doing well. I saw it, though. Again, not going to reinvent the wheel, but it's still a good movie nevertheless. Even though it's a kids or family movie, there's enough there for even adults to like, though. And last but not least, though, unfortunately, we just learned this week that Gilbert Gottfried, the iconic comedian, passed away at the age of 67, though. It's really sad, to be exact, though. I mean, I remember seeing Gilbert Gottfried. You know, he was known for doing the Affleck commercial to even voicing the parrot in the Disney cartoon Aladdin, though. So really unfortunate, though. My heart goes out to his friends and family out there, though. He's a very iconic comedian, though. So Gilbert Gottfried sadly passed away at the age of 67, though. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with the surprise announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4, though. Now, the Kingdom Hearts series obviously originally started back in 2002 and became a joint project between Disney and Squaresoft, now known as Square Enix, though. And there have been numerous entries into the Kingdom Hearts series, though. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was sort of a game a lot of people were waiting for a long time because, you know, Square Enix was focused on doing, you know, some of these spin-offs and all, or these other entries into the series, not the official number and all that stuff. And and we also remember hearing how they switched engines to the Unreal 4 engine, though, and the game finally got its way over to basically the PS4 and the Xbox One and all. The series also made its way over to the Nintendo Switch. However, those were the cloud-based versions, though, and unfortunately not everyone was happy about that, though. Although supposedly entered in at number 16 on the Nintendo eShop, though. So don't know whether that should be viewed as a good or a bad thing, though. Well, it seems as though this week we learned that basically Kingdom Hearts 4 is currently now in development, and so far it's the first game that has been announced that will be running on Unreal Engine 5, the newest entry in the Unreal Engine that Epic Game has just recently released. In an article posted on GameSpot, though, let me get that out, it reads that, quote, Square Enix has announced the development is underway on Kingdom Hearts 4, the next, if I'm saying the name correctly, though, I believe it's 4, yeah, 4, the next entry in the long-running Disney RPG series. The news comes as part of the 20th anniversary celebration and event and includes the release of its very first trailer. Kingdom Hearts 4 kicks off a new storyline for the franchise, the Lost Master arc. Sora returns through, and you'll see in the trailer and screenshots he spotted a new look. The trailer showcased some brief glimpse of gameplay as Sora squares off against a giant shadow monster in the middle of the city. This new location is called Quadram. Again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly. Which which Square Enix described as a large, expansive city set in a gorgeous, realistic world, unlike anything ever seen before in Kingdom Hearts. No further details was shared on, the city or the overall gameplay. Donald and Goofy both return in Kingdom Hearts 4, and a new mysterious character named Sternzilla, again, apologize, I'm not saying that name correctly though, will also be introduced. There's no word on platform. There's no word on which platform Kingdom Hearts 4 will be available on, although Kingdom Hearts 3 was eventually released for PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch, with the latter being a cloud streaming version. Likewise, there's no release date to share, though. Alongside words of the next core entry in the series, Square Enix used the anniversary event to announce a new mobile game called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link for ISO and Android, which they point out in a trailer, though. So, I did get a chance to see the trailer and all, and I will say, it definitely looks impressive, though, but I will admit it's sort of too early to tell how this game is going to play and look, though. I mean, it looks nice, but I do wonder how the final version of that game will look when it officially does come out, to be exact. And I am curious to see how the game is going to be running on the Unreal Engine 5. I believe that's the engine that the game is going to be running on, to be exact, though. And it will be interesting to see what we see in the trailer and what is shown at the what the final product might look like, though. I'm also curious to see exactly how long we're going to wait for this one, because we had to wait a while for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm hoping that's not the case with Kingdom Hearts 4, but we'll have to wait and see over time if that does happen or not, though. As far as what systems it will probably go on to, most likely candidates are going to be the PS5, the Xbox Series S and X, though, and PC, though, most likely via Steam or any other storefront, though. I won't rule out the possibility of a Switch version happening, considering that Unreal Engine 5 does support the Nintendo Switch, but at the same time, I'm not holding my breath for a Switch version, to be exact, though. I mean, it's possible we could see it on a successor to the Nintendo Switch. That's a possibility. Or they may actually be able to port it over to the actual Switch. We've seen impossible ports come to the Nintendo Switch before, though. So I won't rule it out, but I'm not holding my breath on it. If for some reason it does make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, I would rather it not be the cloud version. I know the odds are kind of slim for that, but time will ultimately tell. But as of right now, I would say my best bet is that the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X and PC are the most likely candidates for Kingdom Hearts 4, though, unless it's delayed to the point that, PlayStation 7 comes out or something like that, though. One last thing, though, about Kingdom Hearts is that there's one of the trailers showed a scene that many are speculating looks like the Forest of Endor from Star Wars Return of the Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, though, and many are speculating that Star Wars could make an appearance in Kingdom Hearts, though. Now, do I think that could happen, though? That's a possibility. I mean, it is possible that Kingdom Hearts 4 could feature areas from Star Wars to even maybe areas from the Marvel universe, to be exact. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that that could happen, though. That said, though, it's too early to tell whether that will truly happen, though. If I had to guess which of the two franchises, the Marvel or the Star Wars franchise, that could make its way into the Kingdom Hearts series, I would say Star Wars is probably the most likely candidate of that happening, though. But again, it's too early to say. We don't know if that will happen, so time will ultimately tell, and hopefully we'll learn more information of over time what some of the worlds will be seen in Kingdom Hearts 4. So overall, very nice to hear that Kingdom Hearts 4 is being announced, though. Hopefully we don't have to wait long like we did with Kingdom Hearts 3. That was, in a way, kind of brutal to a certain degree, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Bandai Namco filing a trademark for another dot hack collection, to the possibility of them working with Nintendo and Bandai Namco on a remake of a 3D game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the situation with Bandai Namco, with ranging from dot hack and basically them possibly working with Nintendo on a 3D remake, though. Now recently, though, Bandai Namco has just released the dot hack GU collection that contains all the games that were released at the time for the PS2, with a new entry that never saw the light of day until recently, though. And for those who are not familiar with it, to me, dot hack was sort of came before Sword Art Online ever entered the picture, though. It was sort of like, a digital video game world, and with all these characters and all. It was to me, it was kind of similar to what Sword Art Online, the anime, would have been like, though. Well, recently, though, with dot hack GU out, though, there seems to be reports indicating that Bandai Namco may be bringing the original dot hack games over as well, and it could also make its way to the Nintendo Switch, though. In 2 articles from Nintendo Life, if I can get that out, it reads that, quote, Recently, the Nintendo Switch, Switch owners got a chance to play hack.hack-GU Last Recode, a collection containing the once PS2 exclusive Hack GU trilogy, which includes a brand new chapter, Reconnection. But these aren't the only dot hack games, let alone even the first, and Bandai Namco might be making a move regarding the first 4 games. The studio filed a trademark for Last Recollection in both Japan and Europe on April 1st. Fortunately, this doesn't seem to be a joke despite the date, and this was only uncovered this weekend, and it got fans tongue waggling, though. The name fits the pattern, right? Last Reconnection, Last Recode. It certainly seems like a collection of games that would look back, which would make sense given the 4 hack games that haven't seen a re-release came out before the GU trilogy. Often referred to as the dot hack games or Hack OQ, these all launched on the PS2 between 2002 and 2003 in Japan, and focus on protagonist Kite as opposed to the sequel trilogy focusing on HASEO. Apologies for not saying it correctly, though. The game in this initial trilogy are Hack Infection, Hack Mutation, Hack Outbreak, and Hack Quarantine. This is all just speculation at the moment, but it seems silly not to bring the first 4 games together to ensure the entire Hack Games series is accessible to all, or this could be a brand new IP. We will have to wait and see what Bandai Namco is up to. Meanwhile, another story from Nintendo Life seems to point that Bandai Namco might be working on a remastered of a 3D action game for Nintendo. It reads that, quote, Bandai Namco, the company behind the series like Tekken and Pac-Man, appears to have a new project in the works contracted by Nintendo. According to multiple job listings on Bandai Namco's Japanese website via Reset Era, it's believed to be a remaster or remake of a 3D action game by Nintendo. Bandai Namco is currently seeking planners to get the project up and running, as well as visual artists to perform HD remastering of 3D backgrounds. From a Google translation, it reads, quote, as a visual artist for 3D action games project on a Nintendo contract, you will be required to perform HD remastering of the 3D background. Bandai Namco has helped out Nintendo on all sorts of games in the past. One of the highlights of the Switch generation so far has been Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, featuring characters like Pac-Man and Kazuya. If I'm saying the name correctly, I believe he's from the Tekken series, though. So, my takeaway from both of these are two things. One, in regards to the dot hack, though, it's very nice to see that Bandai Namco is focusing on that series again, because I really would like to see a brand new entry if it ever happens, though. But in terms of porting over the first 4 dot hack games, though, I think that would definitely be great, especially for a new generation that may have missed out when the Doc Hat series came out back then, though. I certainly think this would be a great collection if they could bring all the games over, especially to the Nintendo Switch, if they could get all 4 games into a cartridge, to be exact, though. So it certainly would be nice, though. Obviously, it may be a collection of the first 4, or it could be a new entry, so we'll have to wait and see. It would be also interesting to see if the game gets any kind of update in terms of its gameplay or visuals or anything like that. Remember, these games came out during sort of like the early years of the PS2 and all, so it will be very interesting to see if there's any kind of upgrade or any kind of update from the visuals to the gameplay or anything like that. As far as this new 3D action game or remake of an action game that Bandai Namco and Nintendo could be working on, there could be many titles that they could work on, though. I mean, I've heard ranging from Geist, which I thought that was rough around the edges on the GameCube, but I think could be a good pick if they were to bring that one back, though. There's also been talks about possibly Wario World, which certainly would be nice if that one also got a upgrade as well. I think I would like to see Wario star in a new game that's not another WarioWare game. Hell, I would love to see Wario Land Shake It make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. That would be nice, though. I guess like another Star Fox game would be certainly nice, though. I do think that series should get another shot, to be exact, though. I mean, I know they did Star Fox Assault, which was kind of mixed for some folks out there, but I do think if they were to remake it or do something or rework certain areas, that certainly would be nice. So that could be one of the titles, so I do think Star Fox should get another shot, though. Some people like to point to F-Zero. I mean, that would be great. I'm not sure that's going to be it, but we'll have to wait and see. But one series I do think deserves another shot, and I think could work if they do it correctly, is Kid Icarus Uprising. I really think that this would be a great idea and a great opportunity to maybe remake or remaster Kid Icarus Uprising, though. I mean, I remember playing on the Nintendo 3DS, though, and I mean, the controls took some getting used to, though. It was very awkward. It came out at a time when it was the old 3DS. It didn't have like that C-stick or anything like that, like the new 3DS had, to be exact. And I think this would be a really great opportunity to remake that game, possibly remake, fix some of the controls here and there, though. And I really think that series should get another shot. I know I remember hearing some comments saying that Mr. Sakurai isn't sure that game could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch. I remember hearing some comment about that, and I kind of have to respectfully disagree with that approach. I think this one just should deserve another shot. And we've seen series that have sort of been dormant, but have really found success, though. I mean, Luigi's Mansion 3 did very well on the Nintendo Switch. Fire Emblem Three Houses is doing very well, with rumors about a remake of an old one to the upcoming Fire Emblem Three Hopes. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has recently come out, and that's, from what we've been hearing, that one's been doing very well. So I really think something like Star Fox or Kid Icarus Uprising would be a excellent candidate, though. I would prefer Kid Icarus Uprising, but that's just my opinion and my take on it. So overall, though, I'm curious to see what this trademark that Bandai Namco filled out for Dot Hack, though. I certainly would be open to a new entry, though, but I would not be opposed to the idea of the early Dot Hack PS2 games, making a collection of it, making its way to today's systems, including the Nintendo Switch. As for what this Bandai Namco and Nintendo game they could be working on, again, it could be any title, though. Hopefully we'll hear about it soon or anything like that, but I personally would love it to be either something like Star Fox or Kid Icarus Uprising. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Eiyuden Chronicles Rising, though, that will be launching in May, and it will also be coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, I want to talk about the upcoming game Eiyuden, if I'm saying, apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, Chronicles Rising, though. Now, for those who are not familiar, this was a game that was originally announced on Kickstarter back in 2019, and it was considered to be a spiritual successor to one of Konami's franchise, I think the Sudoku. Again, if I'm saying the name wrong, just let me know, I apologize for that. That supposedly Konami has pretty much much abandoned. Then again, you know what kind of direction Konami has been going lately, though, to be exact, though. Now, what's interesting about this game was, at the time, though, when it was announced, the developers weren't sure if they were going to bring this game over to the Nintendo Switch, and they were figuring that they would have to be on Nintendo's next system, despite supposedly running on the Unity engine, and supposedly the Nintendo Switch supporting Unity, as far as I remember hearing about, though. But either way, they ran the Kickstarter, though, on it, and it seemed to have been, Kickstarter was pretty much a success for them, though. Well, now it seems as though they have developed what is essentially a prequel titled Chronicle Rising, though, that acts more of a action RPG, though, and it has been announced that it will be coming out on May 10th to multiple platforms: Switch, I believe PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC, and it has also been reported that the game will be day one on Game Pass, though. In one of the articles from Nintendo Life, though, it reads that, quote, publisher 505 Games and developer Rabbits and Bears Studio and Nazarum Atari, if I'm saying the name correctly, has announced a release date for their upcoming game, Eiyuden Chronicles Rising. If you're an RPG fan, this probably will make your ears pick up a bit, hasn't it? You might remember the Kickstarter, an announcement for 100 Heroes back in 2019. This game was pitched to be the successor to Konami's long abandoned Sudoku, again, apologize for not saying it correctly, series, and it's being created with the franchise creator at the helm. Originally slashed for a 2022 release, the game has been pushed back to next year, and not only that, we still don't know if we're getting the Switch version. But you know we're getting the Chronicle Rising, a spin-off to 100 Heroes, should satisfy Sudoku fans until the main course is delivered next year. Though this is very different beast from the turn-based, political-heavy recruitment RPG fans might be familiar with. Rising is a side-scroller action RPG, similar vein to Akriser or Sakura of Rice and Ruins, which means, yes, there are town building elements. While you're often building a base in the Sudoku games, rebuilding town is rarely part of the agenda, as you instead create safe space for you and your 108 Star of Destiny, though. This is from the press release, though, which sort of raised an interesting comment about the press release. It's that mentions that, quote, one part of it that says, quote, salvage dungeons and earn materials to reconstruct New Nivea to its former glory and reap benefits apply to 100 heroes when it's released in 2023. Cross content includes special cosmetic items, valuable equipment, and trade goods. Make a personal mark on the world of Eiyuden Chronicles by naming certain weapons and dedicated in Ryzen that will carry over to 100 heroes next year. Now, that statement in terms of their press release is kind of interesting because, as I mentioned, they weren't sure if they are bringing this game over to the Nintendo Switch, which makes you kind of wonder, had they had second thoughts and have decided that they will bring the game over to the Nintendo Switch. I mean, that's a possibility, or it's also a possibility that they forgot to mention that this does not apply to the Switch version or anything like that. So there's so many ways you could look at it though. But at the same time, I guess maybe you could argue that given the success Switch has, and given with a lot of games seeing success on the Nintendo Switch, some developers are having second thoughts of maybe we should try porting these games over to the Nintendo Switch after all. I mean, I believe I remember hearing about Falcon, if I'm saying the name correctly, the creators of the Cold Steel and Yeet series, were kind of hesitant about supporting the Switch and all, but then they started to see how the Switch was becoming sort of like the new Vita to a certain degree, and finally being very successful, that they started to port their games over and seeing success themselves. So maybe they're thinking maybe we should try bringing it over to the Nintendo Switch, but we'll have to wait until we hear official confirmation. But either way, it's nice to see that we're getting at least a prequel though, even though it's different from what they are expecting to release next year though, but it is still interesting nevertheless, to be exact though. And it certainly is nice to hear that it's going to be day one. This game will be day one on Game Pass. Certainly great for those who want to try it out and determine, is it worth my time or money at all though? So certainly nice on that. So overall, great to hear that we have a release date for this game. Nice that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. However, it is kind of curious about bringing content from Chronicle Rising to 100 Heroes, and it does make you kind of wonder if a Switch version is going to happen or not, to a certain degree though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part. And this one has to do with apparently Breath of the Wild 2 and possibly Switch 2 over a comment that Digital Foundry recently made. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, I want to be talking about a comment that Digital Foundry made in regards of the trailer for, or at least some of the recent videos that was shown of Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to The Legend of Zelda of Breath of the Wild. Sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, though. Now, as some of you are probably aware of, we learned, I believe it was last week or the week before, I'm not 100% sure, but we recently learned that Nintendo decided to make the decision to delay the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and decided to push it into next year, into 2023. While I will admit this is disappointed and unfortunate though, it is sort of understandable if the developers need to take their time to try to iron out certain areas they need to iron out to make sure the game works and functions properly, to maybe there are some ideas that they probably want to go back and revise. So whatever the case may be though, it is disappointing, but it is the way it is though, to be exact though. Well, recently some of the folks at Digital Foundry saw some of the new footage that was shown of basically the sequel to Breath of the Wild though, and according to them, they believe that this maybe footage could be basically for the Switch 2 or the Switch Pro or whatever the next Switch might be called, and they're thinking it's possible this could be somewhat of a cross-gen type of a title like we saw with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild back in 2017, or to some degree Twilight Princess back in 2006 though. In an article posted on Game Radar Plus, it reads that, quote, Tech experts think The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 might be a little too good for the Nintendo Switch. In the latest episode of Digital Foundry's Weekly, Richard Ledbetter, John Lineman, and Aulx discussed the recent snippet of Breath of the Wild sequel. There's an excellent breakdown of the technical aspect of the new trailer, including anti-alias, 1080p 720p rendering, draw distance, and more, which led the group to doubt the sequel was actually intended for the Nintendo Switch. They believe that Breath of the Wild sequel could launch in a similar fashion to the original 2017 game. The first Breath of the Wild launched over both the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, and one of the folks thinks that this is what Nintendo has up their sleeves with the sequel, launching it on both the Switch and the more powerful version of the console, though. Additionally, they think the camera cut in the latest trailer has perfect anti-alias, pointing to the new game running on a revised Switch console. This is something that even the Xbox Series X struggled with at times, so it's hard to imagine the 2017 console for Nintendo absolutely nailing the technique. Volumetric clouds also not breaking down, which approached by Link in the Sky, is also another indication the sequel is running on a more powerful hardware, the host acts. It's certainly up for debate. It's certainly up for debate as to whether a Breath of the Wild sequel trailer it really is running on the Nintendo Switch. While it's entirely possible, Nintendo's fine-tuned the trailer to make it look better than the final game. Lindemann rightly points out that Nintendo typically doesn't pull this marketing stunt and shows the games in trailer exactly how they run in actual hardware. It looks like those Nintendo Switch Pro rumors will keep doing the rounds for now. They ended with, despite the rumors, analysts think there won't be a Switch 2 for quite some time. Now, is it possible that the sequel to Breath of the Wild could be running on the successor to the Switch, a Switch 2, a Switch Pro, the next Switch, or whatever they're going to call it, though? Yeah, I mean, that certainly is a possibility. So I don't think what Digital Foundry is saying is entirely wrong. As I mentioned before, we saw this happen in 2006 when Twilight Princess was released on the GameCube and the Wii back then, though, and in 2017 with Breath of the Wild on the Wii U and basically the Nintendo Switch. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that this could be true. But at the same time, we can also take into consideration it's also possible that maybe Nintendo basically are developing, the sequel to just the Switch only, since the Wii U is behind them and all that stuff, and maybe they found a technique to sort of nail down the anti-aliasing and other stuff, though. Maybe they're using that AMD software technique that we've heard rumors about being used in games like the upcoming Nintendo Switch Sports, to be exact. So it's possible that it could actually be running on the actual just Nintendo Switch, whether it's the regular Switch, Switch Lite, Switch OLED, to be exact, though. So it may not be for a new generation Nintendo Switch. I'm not saying that Digital Foundry could be wrong, though. I'm not dismissing that. They could actually be right, and it could be the sequel to Breath of the Wild could be a cross gen game, though. But I can't rule out the fact that this could be actually running on the Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo, knowing their hardware at all, may have found a way to get all that stuff like anti-alias and so forth, though. Is it possible that the final version will look different than what is in the trailer? I mean, that's a possibility, though. There might be some differences here and there, though, but I don't expect it's going to be like the kind of situation we saw back, I think, when Ubisoft launched Watch Dogs, when they showed off how amazing the game looked at the time on the PS4 and Xbox One, only to downgrade to the point that it basically did not look as good as what the trailer did, and we've seen better versions of it. So I'm not sure it's going to be like that kind of situation at all, though. So, but we'll have to wait and see, though. Right now, we know the game won't come out till next year. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more about it this year, though. But hopefully, maybe we'll hear more of it next year. So overall, I would say I don't completely disagree with what Digital Foundry is saying. I do think they have a valid point to what some of the stuff they're saying, though. But at the same time, I cannot ignore the fact that it's also possible Nintendo could have that the latest footage and all the stuff they're showing actually running on the current Nintendo Switch, regardless if it's the regular Switch, Switch Lite, or Switch OLED. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week, though. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the reveal of Kingdom Hearts 4, though? Are you looking forward to that game when it comes out? Are you looking forward to picking it up, though? Do you think some of the rumors of it possibly taking place, having some elements of, like, maybe the Star Wars universe in the Kingdom Hearts series, do you think that rumor is true? What systems do you think it will most likely go to, though? What are your thoughts about Bandai Namco and this Dot Hack trademark? Do you think this is a sign of a new entry for a Dot Hack series, or do you think this could be a sign for something like the Dot Hack games from during the early PS2 eras, though? And what are your thoughts about Nintendo and Bandai Namco working on this remake of a 3D game, though? What game do you think they could be working on? And do you think it could be something like a Star Fox or Kid Icarus? What are your thoughts about this Eiyuden Chronicles Rising? Basically coming out on May 10th. Are you looking forward to this game when it comes out, though? Do you think its upcoming 100 Heroes, do you think that game will actually make its way over to the Nintendo Switch? And are you considering picking this up on Game Pass when it comes day one on Game Pass? And what are your thoughts about what Digital Foundry said about the sequel of Breath of the Wild, though? Do you think they are right that what they are showing is basically stuff that could be on the next Nintendo Switch? Or do you think it's most likely Nintendo figure out a way to get this game running on the current Switch, though? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, and I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!